everyone, welcome. If you're new here, I'm Kira. If you've been here for a while, I'm Kira. I'm so sorry for my unplanned break. Forgive me. But today, I'm not going to waste your time because we're going to talk about books. I've seen this trend going on YouTube where booktubers talk about the media freakout tag. And let's be honest, I'm freaking out because I'm not even halfway through my goal yet. My 2022 goal, I said previously, was to read 70 books. Let's be honest, we are not even halfway through. I only read 13 books so far. I mean, I'm not mad at myself because I was resigning from my previous job and I jumped into another job. I'm still a lawyer now. My kid has started her play school, so there's a lot of things going on in my life right now, which I believe that I need to give myself some grace. But I'm still proud nevertheless because I've managed to finish up 13 books. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So number 1, the best book you've read so far in 2022. Well, I've mentioned about this book earlier this year in my vlog when I said that I was needing some kind of nature elements in my reading. I can't believe that this is the best book I've read so far in 2022, which is very lame, but it is what it is. This is L.M. Montgomery and of Green Gables. I give this book 5 stars. This consists of an orphan girl who was mistakenly being adopted into a Cuthbert family when they were supposed to get a boy to help out in their farm, but instead they were given Anne. Anne is very talkative, very fun, very short-tempered. This book is just pure happiness, pure serotonin, although we have some sort of tragic stories at the backdrop of this book. But overall, this book just give me so much happiness. Laughed a lot reading this book. I really love Anne. I really love her character compared to the series. I believe everyone feels the same way. This book gives me exactly what I need. This is considered as a children classic, and if you are like me, you are just starting to get into classics, highly recommend this. Second question, best sequel you've read so far in 2022. 9. I am not a book series kind of girl. I think I can only count with one hand how many series I've read so far in my life. Yeah, there's 9. Number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. Well, I've heard about this book when I was listening to a podcast by Dr. Cassidy. She's a psychologist and she talks a lot about motherhood and everything surrounding it. In one episode, she actually invited one of this author of this book, A Little Less of a Hot Mess, The Modern Mom's Guide to Growth and Evolution, in which the book talks about how drowning it is to be a mother in this climate, in this circumstances, I would say. So I believe that I would be greatly benefited from that book. So that's the book I want to read. Number 4, the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. 9. I don't really have any author I'm following really closely, so I don't have any author that I prefer more right now. I just read a whole range of books. So number 5, biggest disappointment. It hurts me to talk about it, but 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. Girl. Oh my god, I have so many things to say about this book. I could go on for hours talking about how much I don't like this book, how disappointed I am. So if you don't know, Robin Sharma was the guy who wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, which is one of the best-selling books. So this is the 5 a.m. Club. Supposedly talks about the principles, the values, the routines behind those who wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I am not a morning person. I mean, all of my friends can vouch it for me. My husband can vouch it for me. So I attempted to be a morning person by reading this book because I want to have that motivation. So that's what I thought. That's what I want to. I was being presented by this book. It's just a story about a group of 3 people, a group of entrepreneur, artists, and a businessman, yeah, attending a seminar, and then turns out that the businessman is a billionaire, but the billionaire brought them to an island talking about and having the 5 a.m. routine and whatnot. So basically half of the first half of the book is just a story. It's just talking about a random generalized principle. I mean, you can see the text. It means that it has some values, some principles in it, but this is 300 pages worth of reading, and it's not worth it. It's not worth the 300 pages. I feel like the values and the principles could have just being summarized or being put forth in 100 pages or less. It has so much things that are not needed to be put in, and I don't mean the values, I mean the story. Let's give you an example of the things. Okay, here, let me read an excerpt of this book. A helicopter was now floating overhead. Yes, a helicopter. It had 5 AC in large orange letters on the side of it over white paint. Why do you need to give us all of this story? This is the biggest disappointment that I've read so far this year. Number 6, biggest surprise. Well, the biggest surprise that I've read so far this year is this. This is Haruki Murakami, Norwegian wood. Well, I've heard so many people talk about Haruki Murakami. I've heard about how good he is, but I was not ready to read this book. I haven't heard any trigger warnings put forth. I mean, I heard trigger warnings put forth by people reading A Little Life by Hanyaya Nagihara. I've heard trigger warnings about No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai, I believe. If you don't know, this is the book concerning Toru, when he had a flashback listening to Norwegian Wood. It's a song by the Beatles, and basically the song takes him back down the memory lane of his college days, where he found and have his first love. I have few issues with this book. Number 1 being that I love his writing, but I do not like his thoughts on women. I feel like he's objectifying women. And then I also have issues with the graphic imagery of suicide that he's portraying in this book. It made me feel so heavy, which is the reason why I picked up The End of Green Gables, because I need something to lift my soul up after being destroyed by this book. So I believe that if you are going to, please proceed with caution. I really appreciate his writing. I feel like I will keep on going reading Haruki Murakami's book. So this is the biggest surprise for me this year. Number 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you. So far, I feel like I really love the way L.M. Montgomery wrote. I also like Kristin Hanna's writing. I've read her The Nightingale before, and I feel like I could keep on going because I really love historical fiction. I would go on with the Anne series, and also I would read more from Kristin Hanna. Number 8, newest fictional crush, Gilbert Blythe. From Anne of Green Gables. Number 10, book that made you cry. This is it. This is Kristin Hanna, The Nightingale. Historical fiction was such a thing for me back then. I love historical fiction, and this just hit the right spot. This is a story concerning 2 sisters living in the middle of the Nazi occupation throughout France. It talks about their own way of displaying bravery and resistance towards the Nazi. I cried at this book. It's a bit heavy as well, but it's historical fiction. You could just guess how heavy that would be, but I love this. I cried at this. Number 11, book that made you happy. Anne of Green Gables. Easily, Anne of Green Gables. I laughed so much at this. I mean, and it's so funny. I love this. Number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. I've bought this book and I already finished this book as well. This is Wild Beauty by Anna Mary Mclemore. This talks about women tended the ground of La Pradera, where they can't leave. They have to keep on growing flowers in this place, and they also cannot fall in love too deeply with any man, or else the man will vanish. And I really love this cover. It's flowery. I think the second book that I bought that I really love the cover is this. This is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And the last question, number 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I think I'm going to make a separate video of my TBR pile basically for this year. But number one being Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've heard so many good reviews, so many good things about this book. Second book that I am starting now is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I'm going to do the read along with Emma from the channel Emmy if you follow her. This is a magical realism story about generations after generations living. I love Civil War, yeah. But basically this book paved the magical realism world. Basically that's what I've heard, because I've heard mixed reviews. People would either really love it or would have issues or problems with it, so we'll see. And the third one, I want to read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This book is a classic. It was written in 1816 by an 18-year-old girl named Mary Shelley, and this book paved the genre of science fiction, sci-fi. I mean, that's amazing. So that's why I want to read this book before the end of this year. So please let me know what are your answers for the freak out tag questions, and I'll see you in the next one.